There is no mercy. There is no safe haven. Nature is a brutal symphony of blood and flesh. The strong must take to survive. And the cycle of life and death begins again. On the African savannah, a pride lies hidden, one golden silhouette pressed flat against the tall grass. Ahead, a herd of wildebeest graze hundreds of curved horns, arching like sickle blades. The hunter, 287 pounds, a top speed of 50 miles per hour, but only for the first 164 feet. The prey, 440 pounds, matching that speed with endurance that lasts for miles. Any long-distance chase means certain failure, forcing the hunter to stake everything on silence. Ten more steps, then 5, then 3. The grass parts without a sound. "287 pounds of muscle explode from the grass like a coiled spring. The nearest wildebeest flinches half a heartbeat too slow. The lionesses close in, not chasing, but cutting angles. The lioness leaps onto its back. Her weight crushes down on its shoulders. Jaws lock onto the nape. £440 crumple onto the grass. For 40 million years, the Serengeti has been an arena of unending life and death. Speed is merely the opening move in a merciless evolutionary arms race. Every refined tactic of the hunter meets a survival counterstrike from the prey. And the answer to who truly rules the savannah begins with the weapons of the hunted. The column stretches over 25 miles, stripping 5,300 tons of grass each day on a relentless march that never stops. "200,000 zebras lead the way, cropping the tall grass to clear a path for the wildebeest behind, who graze on the tender shoots beneath an unspoken pact of survival. An 1,800-mile journey through scorching sun, dust storms, and raging rivers. Only the strongest ever reach the other side. The weak collapse along the way. Their carcasses drift downstream or lie scattered across the plains, feeding vultures and the ecosystem around them. But the column does not stop, because to stop is to die, and 40 million years of instinct will not allow those legs to rest. By late January, the herd swings south to the Serengeti, where the short rains have just painted the volcanic grasslands green, the most mineral-rich pastures in all of East Africa. Within 3 weeks, 8,000 calves are born each day, blanketing the savannah with tiny creatures still slick with birth. Each calf must stand within 7 minutes, run within 15 because lions and spotted hyenas patrol the edges of the herd without rest. But 8,000 multiplied by 21 days is more than 160,000 calves, far more than every predator on the savannah combined could ever reach. Lions gorge and lie still. Hyenas give up and turn away. Cheetahs collapse from exhaustion under the midday sun. And still, the calves keep coming, minute after minute. "40 million years of evolution have carved into the wildebeest a simple equation: birth together, move together, survive by numbers." While the wildebeest rely on the power of numbers, another species has evolved an entirely different weapon, the weapon of intelligence. The impala do not match the wildebeest in numbers, but they possess something few species can rival: the ability to detect danger before it strikes. When startled, a herd of impala does not flee in one direction. They detonate in every direction at once. Each one leaps 10 feet into the air and covers over 33 feet in a single bound. The effect completely overwhelms the predator. The eyes of a leopard or a lion can only track one target. When impala scatter in every direction simultaneously, the hunter's brain overloads. That is only the first layer of defense, and it is already enough to force many predators to abandon the hunt. The second layer is sound. Impala possess an alarm call that carries far across the plains, and it is not only their own kind that listens. Zebras, listen. Wildebeest, listen. Thomson's gazelles listen. In practice, impala function as the living radar system of the entire savanna, a surveillance network that no technology could replicate. When a single impala sounds the alarm, it does not merely save its own herd. It triggers a cross-species chain reaction of defense, an early warning network that no predator can disable. The cheetah is the fastest land animal on Earth, built with an aerodynamic frame engineered for maximum bursts of speed. The impala is an extraordinarily agile antelope, renowned for leaping 10 feet high and executing razor-sharp evasive turns to escape danger. While the impala relies on heightened senses to detect threats, the cheetah depends on long-range vision and explosive speed for the kill. The relationship between cheetah and impala represents one of the most ruthless evolutionary arms races on the savanna. The cheetah closes in on the herd. It launches into a full-speed sprint without warning. The impala panic, leaping skyward to scatter and evade. The hunter locks onto the weakest target, ignoring the chaos around it. Its long tail acts as a rudder, keeping it balanced through relentless hairpin turns. A thunderous leg sweep brings the impala crashing down. The chase is over. After the takedown, the cheetah pants continuously. Its body has burned through an enormous reserve of energy. The cheetah must devour its prey quickly, before scavengers like hyenas or lions arrive to steal the kill. The death of this one impala is a costly survival lesson for every antelope still standing on the savanna. The ecological balance endures, predators are fed, and prey continue to evolve to survive. While the carnivores drain every ounce of strength and cunning for each meal, the savannah still reserves an abundant realm for the giraffe, those gentle giants who tower above it all. That height is not for show, it is a survival weapon, granting access to a food source no other species can compete for. A 20-inch tongue, pitch black and tough as cured leather, wraps around acacia branches bristling with thorns without a scratch or a drop of blood. Each day they spend 16 to 20 hours doing nothing but eating, rechewing every mouthful of leaves through a 4-chambered stomach that operates like a processing plant that never shuts down. To pump blood up to a brain 6 feet above the heart, a giraffe's heart weighs 25 pounds, the largest of any land mammal. Their blood pressure runs twice that of a human, yet a system of one-way valves in the neck veins prevents blood from rushing backward when they lower their heads to drink. They sleep less than 30 minutes a day, standing upright in the open savanna, because lying down means surrendering every advantage that height provides. Every time they bend to drink, it is a moment of peril. Legs splayed wide, neck lowered, their entire body off balance in the middle of an exposed plain. A single rear kick from a giraffe generates nearly 2,000 pounds of force, enough to crush the skull of any attacker. Males compete for mates by swinging their necks and slamming them into each other, the crack of their ossicones echoing across the savannah like the sound of a hammer striking an anvil. The pattern on each giraffe's coat is as unique as a human fingerprint. No two giraffes on Earth are exactly alike. Height is their shield, their weapon, their ultimate survival advantage, sculpted by millions of years of evolution across the vast African savanna. Hyenas do not surrender easily. When the clan is large enough, they deploy a tactic called mobbing overwhelming strength with sheer numbers. The hyena pack surrounds a lone lion, barking, snapping, attacking from every direction. Through pure numbers alone, they can drive the lion back, a victory of the mob over raw power. Endurance loses to strength. Numbers lose to absolute authority. They observe, they wait, and they act only when the advantage tilts in their favor. The arms race between lions and hyenas creates an entirely new evolutionary pressure. It is not enough to hunt well, you must also play politics well. And this is where the arms race escalates to its most terrifying level, where the line between animal and politician blurs beyond recognition. The arms race between hunter and hunter rages no less fiercely than the war between hunter and prey. In broad daylight on the Serengeti, light floods the plains. The prey believe they are safe. A leopard lies motionless in the dense brush, its spotted coat dissolving into the dappled patchwork of light and shadow, invisible in the middle of the day. Lions sink into sleep after the hunt, while the hyena clan quietly retreats deep into the shade of the savannah. The vast open space falls suddenly silent. And that is the perfect moment for the ghost of the savannah to awaken. An impala lowers its head to graze. The most sophisticated alarm system on the savannah, useless when the enemy lies 10 feet away without making a sound. The leopard lies 10 feet away without making a sound. One leap. Ot anebite. The impala never had time to sound the alarm. But making the kill is only half the battle. Keeping it, that is the real test. The scent of fresh blood drifting through the air will quickly draw greedy thieves from across the savannah. On the ground, lions and hyenas possess overwhelming power enough to easily steal that hard-earned meal. The leopard must summon the extraordinary strength of its neck muscles and jaws to haul prey weighing twice its own body. The only place on the savannah where no enemy can reach. Only when the kill hangs safely among the branches does the ghost of the savannah truly win the battle for survival. The savannah is not only a stage for bloody carcass disputes among carnivores, it is also a theater for the most extraordinary rituals of sustaining life. One of the most remarkable survival dances belongs to the African ostrich. During breeding season, the male dances with outstretched black and white wings before the female, his crimson neck swelling to the rhythm of the mating instinct. The female lays her eggs in a communal nest scraped into the bare ground, each egg weighing 3 pounds, equal to 20 chicken eggs combined. A single nest holds up to 60 eggs from multiple females, yet only the dominant female and the male take turns incubating them for 42 days. By day, the female sits her grey-brown plumage blending into the dust. By night, the male takes over his black feathers, vanishing into the darkness. The shell is 1/12 of an inch thick, so hard a human would need a hammer to crack it, yet the chick inside still breaks through from within. When the eggs hatch, chicks, barely 1 foot tall, stumble out, their grey and black striped down, camouflaging them perfectly among the dry savanna grass. Spotted hyenas can smell eggs and hatchlings from hundreds of yards away, advancing in groups of 3 or 4 to probe. The male ostrich immediately spreads his wings wide, puffs his feathers, and hisses, transforming his 9-foot frame into a black and white wall of intimidation against every intruder. If the threat display is not enough, he charges straight at the hyenas, a frontal kick with 4-inch talons powerful enough to rip open the flesh of any predator. The hyenas know the cost. They retreat, circle to another angle, waiting for the moment the parents lose focus, even for a single second. But the ostrich does not lose focus. Eyes 2 inches wide, scan the savanna without pause, guarding the brood until they are old enough to run on their own. Yet all the vigilance on land is never enough when the young must reach water where an ancient assassin waits in silence. The Nile crocodile stretches up to 16 feet long, weighs over 1,600 pounds, and is the largest predatory reptile on the African continent. They can fast for an entire year thanks to an ultra-slow metabolism, lying motionless beneath the mud like a log, waiting for a single opportunity. Thousands of sensory organs, dotting their snout, detect the faintest ripple, allowing them to pinpoint prey without ever needing to see it. A crocodile's jaws snap shut with a force of 3,700 pounds per square inch, the most powerful bite ever measured in any animal on the planet. Each year, 1.5 million wildebeest migrate 1,800 miles across the Serengeti and the Masai Mara in a circle that never ends. They live in herds of thousands. Numbers are their only shield against every predator above and below the water. Wildebeest must drink every day. They cannot go more than 24 hours without water under the 100-degree heat of the East African savanna. Each time they lower their heads to the water's edge is a moment of blindness, their vision blocked by tall grass, their hearing drowned by the noise of drinking all around them. It is that very moment of lost vigilance that transforms the waterhole into a death trap, one that the instinct of thirst forces them to enter every single day. The crocodile lies submerged, motionless, waiting. Its muzzle touches the surface. The ripple reaches the sensors on the crocodile's snout. The crocodile launches upward. Jaws slam shut around the wildebeest's muzzle and drag it under. The wildebeest thrashes, but the crocodile's jaws lock with a grip nothing can break. A death roll snaps the prey's neck. The water turns red. The herd scatters, but thirst will bring them back. In the wild, the death of one individual is the price paid to sustain life for the entire herd. A world where fear must always yield to the instinct to survive. But the river is not solely the domain of blood-soaked predators. It is also home to another reigning colossus. The hippopotamus weighs up to 4,000 pounds, the third heaviest land animal on the planet, behind only the elephant and the white rhinoceros. They spend 16 hours a day submerged, exposing only their eyes, ears, and nostrils above the river's surface, like 3 small stones. Hippo skin is nearly 2 inches thick, yet extremely sensitive to sunlight. If left dry too long, it cracks and becomes severely infected. To combat the sun, their bodies secrete a reddish-pink mucus that looks like blood but is in fact the most perfect natural sunscreen in the animal kingdom. Hippos cannot swim despite spending nearly their entire lives in water. They walk along the riverbed, pushing off the bottom to surface for air. With each dive, they automatically seal their ears and nostrils, holding their breath for up to 5 minutes before needing to rise. Each one consuming 80 pounds of fresh grass in 5 to 6 hours before returning to the water before dawn. The hippo's stomach has 3 chambers, slowly fermenting grass throughout the day, extracting every trace of nutrition from the savannah's poorest fare. Hippo dung is the single most important nutrient source for the river ecosystem, feeding algae, fish, and hundreds of aquatic species downstream. Scientists call them ecosystem engineers because the paths hippos carve create natural water channels connecting floodplain habitats. Hippos live in groups of 20 to 30, ruled by a dominant male who controls a stretch of river several hundred yards long as his territory. The male yawns his mouth open to 150 degrees, not from drowsiness, but as a signal of dominance to every rival nearby. Hippo canine teeth grow up to 20 inches long, continue growing throughout their lives, and self-sharpen by grinding against each other every time the mouth closes. A hippo's call carries over a mile across the water's surface and simultaneously transmits underwater, creating a dual communication system unique in the animal kingdom. They appear sluggish and docile when lounging lazily in the river, but on land they can reach 19 miles per hour when provoked. Right beside those colossal figures, the water's surface blazes with the arrival of one of the wild's most vivid icons. Flamingos are not born with pink feathers. They hatch in grey-white down and must eat the right food to change color. That brilliant pink comes from carotenoids found in algae and brine shrimp, a pigment that accumulates in the feathers with every meal over many months. The individual that eats the most shrimp develops the deepest pink, and the deepest pink is always chosen as a mate first. In other words, feather color is a health billboard that every flamingo carries on its body amid a flock of millions. They feed by flipping their heads upside down into the water, the curved beak functioning like an industrial filter separating algae from mud and brine. Inside the beak, hundreds of thin, parallel, horny plates filter food with a precision no man-made filter can match. The flamingo's tongue pumps water through the beak 3 to 4 times per second, turning the inverted head into a continuous food processing plant. Flamingos stand on one leg not for balance, but for heat retention, tucking one leg into the belly feathers to reduce heat loss through cold water. Research shows they are actually more stable on one leg than on two. A self-locking knee joint saves all muscular energy. They live in flocks, ranging from thousands to millions, packed so densely that predators cannot isolate a single target amid the sea of pink. Lake Natron in Tanzania is the largest gathering place, 2.5 million lesser flamingos crowding onto a caustic lake heated to 140 degrees Fahrenheit. The water's pH is high enough to corrode the skin and eyes of most animals, yet flamingo legs are sheathed in alkaline-resistant keratinized scales. Each mating season, thousands of males dance in unison, stretching necks, spreading wings, turning heads in perfect synchrony like a professional dance troupe. Flamingos can live up to 50 years in the wild, among the longest-lived birds on the planet, far outliving eagles, hawks, and most birds of prey. When millions converge on a single lake, seen from above, they transform the water into a living pink carpet stretching unbroken for miles upon miles. Yet whether draped in brilliant color or forged in savage form, all of them are merely pieces operating within a single wheel of survival. The arms race on the savannah has raged for millions of years. Speed, endurance, numbers, politics, ambush, each layer is a masterpiece of evolution. But that balance, the one that took 40 million years to build humans, can shatter in just a few decades. The cheetah evolution's masterpiece of speed now numbers fewer than 7,000 individuals in the wild, classified as vulnerable, and the count keeps falling. They have lost 90 to 95% of their historic range. Only 21% of their remaining habitat lies within protected areas. The lion, supreme ruler of politics and absolute power, watches its ancient kingdoms shrink with every passing day. The leopard master of ambush, the hippopotamus ecosystem engineer. Entirely different roles in the arms race. An arms race requires at least two sides to exist. Remove the predator, and the prey loses evolutionary pressure and begins to decline. Remove the prey, and the predator loses its lifeline. The chain reaction cannot be reversed. The arms race has produced extraordinary creatures on this savanna. Each species exists because the other exists. Hyenas are intelligent because lions are powerful. Lions form coalitions because hyenas are many. Remove one side, and the other loses its rival. Wildebeest birth thousands of calves every day because predators never stop. Predators never stop because prey never runs out. Impala sound the alarm because leopards ambush. Leopards climb trees because hyenas steal kills. Every behavior is a response to another behavior. And the hippo, the outsider in this war, silently pumps silica into the river, holding the foundation of the entire ecosystem from collapsing. Remove one link from this chain. The entire system trembles in ways no one can predict. Remove two links. The system collapses and no one can rebuild it. This arms race has no winner, and that is the most extraordinary thing about it. Balance is not peace. Balance is the state in which every side is fighting with everything it has, and no one wins enough to destroy the other. That is the law that 40 million years of evolution have written in bone and blood across this savanna. A law that humans can erase within a single generation. Somewhere on the Serengeti right now, a cheetah lies pressed flat against the grass. Ahead, a Thompson's gazelle is grazing. The distance between the two creatures, 30 paces. Just as it was millions of years ago. Just as it was at the beginning of this story. The chase is about to begin. And no matter who wins cheetah or gazelle, the arms race will not stop. Welcome to WildVerse, where we explore the most extraordinary stories of the natural world. The first light of day touches the savannah, painting every blade of dry grass gold all the way to the horizon. The lioness lies flat against the red earth. Her yellow eyes pierce through the gaps in the leaves, never leaving the herd of zebras drinking at the shallow waterhole. The lioness is the pride's primary hunter, but today she has split from the group. Alone, she stalks downwind, where the scent of dew-soaked grass masks the smell of a predator. Top speed, 35 miles per hour. In daylight, a solo hunt succeeds only 17% of the time. The distance between the lioness and the zebra herd narrows step by step. The lioness launches forward, and the zebra herd explodes into flight, like a detonation of black and white stripes. The stripes blur into one another in motion, and in that swirling sea of stripes, the lioness loses her target. A zebra kicks backward toward the lioness, with enough force to shatter the bones of any predator foolish enough to get too close. The lioness retreats, breathing heavily. Her flanks heaving beneath the early sun dawn has barely passed, yet the hunt has already ended in failure. On the savannah, the strongest does not always win, and breakfast is never a certainty. But the savannah grants no one rest. The new day has only just begun, and the sun is climbing higher. The sun rises higher, heat begins radiating from the red earth, and on the eastern grasslands, the fastest creature on the planet is opening its eyes. The lioness lies back beneath the shade of a tree, licking the dust from her forepaws. But those yellow eyes never stop scanning the grassland. The early morning light washes the broad grassland in gold, and the temperature begins to climb, but remains cool enough for high-speed pursuits. The zebra herd, still panting after their narrow escape from the lioness. But they have already lowered their heads to graze again, because standing still for too long is its own kind of danger. One stallion leads the herd alongside the young. Every member plays a role in the network of collective defense. The lead stallion stands guard between the herd and the direction the lioness departed, ears rotating constantly, scanning every sound. But new danger appears. The shadow of a cheetah glides along the edge of the short grass to the east, and enemies never come just one at a time. The zebras spot it, a warning. Whinny rings across the herd like an alarm siren, and every head snaps upward at once. The entire herd bolts at 35 miles per hour, dust billowing behind them, turning the grassland into a wall of red smoke. The led stallion charges forward to counterattack the cheetah, swerves aside, loses momentum, and abandons the chase. No one guards zebras better than their own herd. The herd regroups, rubbing necks against one another. This is a social bonding behavior after danger, the way zebras tell each other that everyone is still here. Zebras have been known to turn back and rescue a member under attack. A collective behavior rarely seen among herbivores, loyalty does not belong only to predators. But the one who just gave up has not truly given up the cheetah, is simply choosing an easier target, and the next prey has already come into view. Early morning light falls across the short grass. Visibility stretches for miles, and atop a raised mound, the cheetah sits motionless, eyes scanning the distant horizon. The fastest land animal on Earth, top speed of 70 miles per hour, and from 0 to 60 miles per hour in under 3 seconds, rivaling a supercar. A Thompson's gazelle stands a few hundred feet away. The cheetah crouches low, advancing step by silent step, closing the distance before the sprint. Because the chase lasts only a few hundred yards before the body overheats. The cheetah launches earth tears beneath its feet, and in under 3 seconds, it hits top speed, each stride a burst of pure power. The Thompson's gazelle cuts hard to the left, the cheetah follows, tail sweeping sideways for balance. Every step a physics equation between centrifugal force and gravity. A swift, precise bite ends the chase that, only seconds before, seemed impossible to win. The cheetah pants heavily. Its body temperature has surged to dangerous levels, and it must rest 15 to 30 minutes before it can eat. During that window, the kill lies there unguarded. A pair of black-backed jackals emerge from the low scrub. Approaching the cheetah's kill, the cheetah snarls, but it is far too exhausted to fight. And this is the price of speed. Everything traded for one brilliant moment, then emptiness. The cheetah loses its kill to habitual thieves. Black-backed jackals are loyal, omnivorous mates that play a crucial role in scavenging carcasses and maintaining ecological balance. Exploiting the cheetah's exhaustion, the pair silently close in from the brush to execute the heist. They ignore the helpless snarls, boldly rushing in to drag the prey away right before the predator's eyes. One feeds ravenously, while the other stands on high alert. They take turns guarding each other with absolute trust. The heist ends swiftly as they gulp down the remains and retreat before anything larger arrives. The midday sun does not just scorch the ground, it turns thirst into a deadly trap along the banks of the murky Mara River. Hidden beneath a thin layer of mud, a 15-foot Nile crocodile lies motionless like a drifting log, perfectly camouflaged by its dense horned scales. A herd of wildebeest lower their heads to drink desperate gulps, unaware that death has locked onto its target. Suddenly, the water's surface erupts as the massive wall of muscle launches from the mud with the speed of a lightning bolt. The death grip clamps down on the wildebeest. The prey thrashes in panic, but the crocodile immediately unleashes the death lord, spinning its enormous body with devastating force to shred all resistance. The drag of the current and the pull from those colossal jaws quickly plunge the wildebeest beneath the surface. The ripples on the water gradually smooth out, completely concealing the bloody feast unfolding below. Beneath the water lie the traps of the river, but on the bank. The scorching, dry heat near the bush is calling out the name of another armored war machine. But the temperature climbs higher, and in the thicket, a creature carries armor heavier than any warrior on the savannah. The sun stands directly overhead, heat rising from the red earth and warping the landscape in the distance. In the brush, where shade is the only luxury at midday. A black rhinoceros, weighing up to 3,000 pounds, stands motionless, ears rotating constantly, scanning every sound. Its eyesight is extremely poor, but compensated by super-sensitive hearing. Its upper lip is pointed and hooked, unlike the flat lip of the white rhinoceros that grazes on grass. The black rhino uses it to pluck leaves and pull branches, an entirely different feeding style. The lioness approaches from upwind, but the black rhino catches the scent. It swings its head toward the sound, its entire massive body tensing. The black rhino does not run it, charges straight at the threat at 28 miles per hour, all that weight barreling forward. The lioness leaps aside, the rhino's horn slices through the air, exactly where the lioness stood less than a second ago. Victory through sheer mass, and the instinct to charge directly into danger rather than flee from it. But the black rhino cannot see far. Its weak eyes can only distinguish shapes at close range. There is another creature on the savannah that sees farther than anyone, and it stands right there on the open grassland. In the middle of the open grassland, the giraffe towers 20 feet above the ground. The line between hunter and hunted grows thinner than ever. On the edge of the open grassland, a mother leopard and her cubs cautiously pick their way through twisted, dry branches. Facing them are towering mobile watchtowers, standing up to 20 feet tall, a herd of giraffes gathered in tense concentration. Giraffes fight with their sheer muscle mass and necks stretching several feet long. Two adult bulls repeatedly slam their heads against each other's bodies, a combat behavior called necking, used to establish dominance hierarchy within the herd. Each swing of the neck carries enormous kinetic energy, producing deep, thudding impacts that echo across the surrounding bush. The mother leopard and her cubs freeze behind a large tree trunk, their glowing amber eyes locked onto the brutal display of the giants. This is the cubs' very first outing. A costly survival lesson in recognizing the boundaries of danger. Hunger urges them forward, but the mother's instinct recognizes that those razor-sharp hooves and devastating kicks are not worth the risk. Sensing the giraffe herd has detected their presence and simultaneously raised their heads in alarm, the mother leopard signals the retreat. The mother leopard and her cubs slip silently through the tall grass and vanish into the brush to search for an easier target. The hunt ends before it even begins. But patience and knowing one's limits are what keep a predator alive through the harshest seasons. The mother leopard does not give up easily. She and her cubs return to a familiar shaded spot beneath the trees. The mother stretches out on a mound, tail hanging loosely, eyes appearing lazy yet missing no movement whatsoever, while the cubs obediently tuck themselves behind her, watching intently. Though leopards are solitary by nature, the bond between mother and young is paramount in this moment. The mother leopard hunts an impala. In the early afternoon, a breeze carries the scent of impala. The mother's eyes widen, and she signals her cubs to lie perfectly still. The mother presses her body flat against the ground, her steps making not a single sound, while the two cubs watch intently their very first lesson in hunting. A precise, decisive bite the impala does not even have time to cry out. The ambush ends before it truly begins. Patience is not weakness. Patience is knowing the right moment. The mother waited all morning for a single ambush, securing sustenance for an entire future generation. But not everyone needs patience to defend themselves. Some creatures need no camouflage, no hiding, no silence. The midday grassland scorches under the sun, and the ostrich stands tall, neck stretched high. Possessing the largest eyes of any land animal to scan vast distances and detect danger from miles away. A spotted hyena appears, watching the ostrich family eyes glued to the newly hatched chicks, slowly closing in with unmistakable predatory intent. The ostrich detects the danger and immediately fans both wings wide like two intimidating sails, hissing out razor-sharp warning calls that tear through the air. Without a moment's hesitation, it charges head-on at the enemy like a colossal arrow. The ostrich unleashes a forward kick, its razor-sharp talons slicing through the air, nearly driving straight into the predator's skull. The spotted hyena recoils in terror, leaping backward to dodge the blow. The ostrich pivots its massive body to track the hyena's movement. It stamps the ground ferociously and unleashes a relentless barrage of overpowering kicks. Forcing the apex predator to turn tail and flee. The sun slants across the grassland, the temperature softens, but the savanna does not. Shadows grow longer, and this is the hour when the boldest creatures begin to move. The honey badger carries within it a stubborn nature born from birth and a remarkable ability to build resistance against the most dangerous venoms. On the dry, barren red earth, a honey badger crouches low, intently watching and closing in on a scorpion whose tail curls upward in threat. Without the slightest hesitation, the honey badger shoves its snout down to snatch the prey, but immediately takes a searing sting straight to the face from the scorpion's tail. The venom takes effect, and the honey badger's face feels as though it is on fire. It forces the badger to retreat, frantically rubbing its nose against the sandy ground to soothe the pain. But agony cannot make a honey badger back down. It quickly returns to the fight, using its razor-sharp claws to repeatedly rake the dirt and corner its opponent. The scorpion fights back valiantly with a barrage of rapid-fire stings. But each dose of venom injected into its body only strengthens the honey badger's growing resistance. After many rounds of fierce back and forth, the tenacious predator finds the lethal angle and completely neutralizes the scorpion's most dangerous weapon. Now it is time to savor the spoils. The honey badger grips the prey with both forepaws and slowly crunches it down like a deeply satisfying dinner. This first venom-soaked encounter is the most practical survival lesson of all, forging within the honey badger the toughness needed to endure. And as the honey badger finishes gnawing the last remains of its prey, sometimes courage is worth far more than strength. The bravery of the small honey badger leaves behind a mighty lesson. But the savannah is also ruled by quiet powers that need not prove themselves in blood. Yet there is one who watches everything from above, from a place no one can reach, where the sky belongs to a single pair of wings. And those wings, spanning more than 8 feet, are slowly folding shut. The eagle's shadow glides across the ground like a small drifting cloud. The martial eagle circles, slowly wingspan of 8.5 feet, the king of Africa's skies, is patrolling its territory. The eagle spots prey from miles away. The savannah beneath its wings is a living map from which no detail escapes. On the red desert sand below, a meerkat clan and their tottering pups are busy digging for food, bearing the burden of being both hunter and hunted. Suddenly, a meerkat snaps its head upward, firing off a piercing alarm call that tears through the air as it stares directly into the blazing sun. Chaos erupts the entire meerkat family, and their pups sprint for their lives in a frenzied scramble, sand kicking up in clouds with every panicked step. The martial eagle tucks its wings and dives at over 140 miles per hour, air shearing around its body like an armored missile. But the meerkat's vigilance and team spirit prevail. They dive straight into hollow tree cavities and deep underground burrows just before the eagle's talons touch the ground. The king of Africa's skies soars back up into the vault of the sky, resuming its solitary circles. The hunt fails, but its throne in the heavens remains an untouchable symbol of power. But down below, on the sun-drenched afternoon grassland, another pack of hunters is accelerating at a terrifying pace, and when this pack moves, no prey runs long enough. A lone wildebeest is burning through its last reserves of energy in a desperate flight. But behind it looms one of the savannah's greatest terrors, a pack of African wild dogs. They do not rely on ambush strikes. This species wields the ultimate weapons of endurance and disciplined relay-style teamwork. When the lead runner begins to tire, another member of the pack immediately surges to the front to maintain suffocating pressure on the prey. The wildebeest, desperate, tries to widen the gap with raw speed alone. The tempo of the chase reaches its climax when a single wild dog breaks through the threshold. It rockets forward like an arrow cutting through the wind, closing in right behind the tail of the gasping wildebeest. When the entire relay pack's encirclement snaps shut, there is no chance of escape against the supreme power of the collective. The entire pack descends in an overwhelming surge, ending the breathless chase with a victory of discipline and relentless perseverance. The savannah has witnessed dozens of hunts, dozens of escapes. Cape buffalo move through the twilight, the sky ablaze, in shades of orange, red, and violet-red dust, swirling beneath hundreds of hooves. To bring down this giant, the lionesses need the greatest reinforcement from the pride's leader, the thick-maned male lion radiating raw authority. The ambush that erupts is not a panicked free-for-all, but a calculated two-pronged pincer maneuver executed with precision. The first attackers charge from the front to seize the buffalo's attention, creating a diversion and blocking its field of vision. Immediately, the second strike force closes in, driving razor-sharp claws into the buffalo to drag its crushing weight down to the ground. The earth shakes, red dust billows as the giant collapses under the combined might of the apex predators alliance. The hour of power, when the phantoms of the wild rise. The male lion is advancing toward the far boundary of his territory, unwittingly crossing a line between life and death without realizing it. The darkness of the desert conceals not just the searing heat, but also the hiding place of a fierce and relentless spotted hyena clan. The lone male lion charges straight into the heart of the spotted hyena pack. Surrounded from every direction, the lion tries to snarl and intimidate. But the enemy's overwhelming numbers quickly turn the standoff into a suffocating trap. One hyena dares to lunge in and tear at him from behind. The male lion spins and retaliates with savage fury, creating a chaotic vortex of dust and earth-splitting roars. The tide turns completely when two kings join forces in a breakthrough. Their devastating strikes shatter every attempt at encirclement, sending the spotted hyena pack fleeing in panic. The perseverance and loyalty of an ally triumph, saving the lion from the brink of a bloody end. The two giants stand side by side beneath the fading sun. They press their heads together in a bond, affirming that on this savannah, alliance is the supreme weapon of those who rule. A day of upheaval and bloodshed across the boundless savannah. Darkness descends gradually, but the battle for survival has never once paused. Beneath the quiet veil of night, a herd of elephants is on the move. The elephants catch a strange scent drifting on the wind, a signal of danger that the adults recognize instantly. A single spotted hyena is no threat, but in the darkness, they never travel alone. This is an entire hyena pack with many hungry new mouths to feed, and a vulnerable young calf is the perfect target. But with hyenas closing in from every side, the elephant herd begins to panic. Blinding dust swirls up into the night. Without hesitation, the matriarch charges through the wall of dust to rally with her family. Sensing the extreme danger as darkness serves as the predator's ally. The matriarch urges the entire herd to press forward toward the dense forest. But the hyena pack has already seized an opening and something is knocked to the ground. Faced with the united defense and unmatched fury of 2 generations of elephant mothers, the hyena pack is forced to retreat. The nighttime chase ends as the elephant herd swiftly moves into a solid formation. Sheltering the young safely at the center, an absolute declaration of collective strength. And so closes a day of survival on the savannah. Each species carries a different strategy for staying alive. Yet nature now faces enemies without fangs or claws. Greed and gunfire are driving many species to the brink of extinction. Lion, cheetah, and rhinoceros populations are declining at an alarming rate. Rangers continue their tireless efforts, day and night, to protect these lives. Millions of years of evolution never prepared them for the devastation wrought by humankind. Even so, these wild warriors fight on with unyielding courage every single day. The savannah belongs to no one, where every life holds value. Thank you for joining WildVerse through one day on the African savannah. The natural world still holds countless stories waiting to be told. We will see you on the next adventure. Subscribe to WildVerse together. Let us explore another corner of the wild world. High noon on the Serengeti plains, the sun casts short shadows across golden grasslands stretching to the horizon. The temperature grazes 105 degrees Fahrenheit. Heat shimmers above cracked earth, and most creatures have sought shade. But not all. A pride of lionesses lies motionless in grass tall enough to reach a person's waist. They are not sleeping. The amber eyes of the lead female track a migrating herd of wildebeest. The lead lioness signals with a dip of her head so subtle it is nearly imperceptible. A flanking group peels away to either side. The rest hold still. They are the blockade. The wildebeest press forward, oblivious to the trap already drawn around them. the ideal prey for lions, the old, the young, the injured, the weakest links in the herd. A wildebeest calf, under 6 months old, weighing roughly 80 pounds, drifts behind the column. It lacks the experience to sense danger. 40 feet, 30 feet, 20 feet. The lead lioness explodes from the grass. A lion's top speed reaches 35 miles per hour, slower than a wildebeest over distance. But within the first 50 feet, no prey reacts in time. The chase lasts fewer than 8 seconds. The lead lioness misses, but the flanking female strikes from the blind spot, claws nearly 2 inches long, pinning the calf's shoulder. The calf collapses. Red dust erupts into the midday glare. A kill. Yet lions succeed only about 25% of the time. 3 of every 4 hunts end in failure. Every meal demands a toll. Spent energy, risk of injury, and sometimes death itself. Wildebeest, the longest distance land migrants among large mammals, are far from easy quarry. A full-grown adult weighs up to 500 pounds, armed with curved horns capable of inflicting severe wounds on any attacker. Yet that very strength makes them the prime target. A single adult wildebeest provides enough food for an entire pride for 2 days. No side claims permanent victory. This is nature's paradox, a fragile equilibrium between life and death, where every failure of the hunter becomes a triumph for the hunted. But the arms race on the African savannah is merely one chapter in a far longer story. On land, weapons are muscle, speed, fang, and claw. Beneath the ocean, the rules change entirely. More than 5,000 miles east of the Serengeti, beneath the warm waters of the Indo-Pacific, another world exists where size becomes irrelevant and the most lethal weapons belong to the smallest creatures. The Coral Triangle, spanning seas from Indonesia through the Philippines to Papua New Guinea, harbors more than 75% of all coral species on Earth. This is the ocean's greatest evolutionary laboratory. And among these luminous reefs, a different arms race has unfolded, waged not with muscle or speed, but with venom, camouflage, and biological traps. Sunlight pierces the crystalline surface and falls upon a shallow reef near the Lembe Strait, Indonesia. Among staghorn coral branches and multicolored sponges, a creature smaller than a golf ball creeps through a crevice. The blue-ringed octopus Hapalochlaena measures just 4 to 8 inches long and weighs less than 1 ounce. Placed on a human palm, it looks as harmless as a toy. Yet within that diminutive body lies enough venom to kill 26 adults. Tetrodotoxin, a neurotoxin 1,000 times more potent than cyanide. And there is no antidote. Stranger still, the blue-ringed octopus does not manufacture its own venom. Symbiotic bacteria, Vibrio and Pseudomonas, dwelling in its salivary glands, are the true chemists. The same toxin appears in pufferfish, 2 entirely unrelated species, sharing the same bacteria, the same weapon. Chemical warfare through convergent evolution. When threatened, neon rings across its skin ignite in under half a second, the ocean's most unmistakable warning signal. But if the aggressor does not retreat, the bite follows, and the victim feels no pain. No pain. That is what makes it terrifying. The victim does not know the bite has landed until paralysis begins. The lethal dose, a single milligram lighter than a grain of salt. At least 11 human deaths have been documented. The only rescue is continuous artificial respiration, keeping the victim breathing until the toxin degrades on its own. This lethal creature possesses a remarkably brief lifespan, lasting a mere 1 to 2 years. It breeds only once. The mother fasts entirely, cradling her eggs, guarding them without rest, surrendering to exhaustion and death the moment her young emerge. A short life, an eternal weapon. On the Indo-Pacific reefs, the most biodiverse waters on Earth, the deadliest weapon has nothing to do with size. Here, venom kills within 5 minutes. Camouflage turns a hunter to stone, and a mouth engulfs prey in 0.006 of a second. And the most fearsome predator? Not the one carrying the strongest venom, the one that is never seen until it is too late. From the blue-ringed octopus, a miniature assassin armed with neurotoxin, the story draws deeper into the coral reef, where two opposing schools of combat have persisted for millions of years. The first school, display of power. The sea slug nudibranche is the undisputed master of this strategy. More than 3,000 nudibranch species have been identified across the world's oceans, and scientists believe the true number far exceeds that count. They range from smaller than a grain of rice to 2 feet long in the case of the giant Spanish dancer. Their colors defy belief: neon pink, blazing orange, deep violet, electric blue like living candy scattered across the reef. But this is not decoration. This is a warning. In biology, the phenomenon is called aposematic coloring, vivid hues that declare, "Eat me and die." And the nudibranch has every reason for such confidence. They are the ocean's most sophisticated weapons thieves. When feeding on sea anemones or hydroids, organisms armed with stinging nematocyst cells, the nudibranch does not trigger those cells. Rather than digest them, this biological machine steals thousands of venomous stinging cells from its prey, completely intact. It routes the toxic capsules through its digestive tract, channeling them directly into the serrata, transforming the fleshy appendages on its back into a lethal defensive arsenal. There, another creature's weapon becomes its own. Science calls this process kleptocnidae, stealing stinging cells. No other species on Earth accomplishes this with such precision. Nature's most exquisite marvel, the sea slug is a simultaneous hermaphrodite. During mating, both individuals exchange sperm, cross-fertilizing each other. This mechanism ensures that not a single reproductive opportunity goes to waste across the vastness of the open ocean. The species pushes physiological boundaries further still. It treats its mating organ as disposable. Through autotomy, the nudibranch detaches its penis immediately after copulation, then regenerates a fully functional replacement in just 24 hours. Nudibranch eggs spiral into ribbon-like coils, typically curling counterclockwise, each translucent sheet clinging to coral surfaces like miniature sea blossoms. Among thousands of species, the Spanish dancer Hexabranchus sanguineus stands apart. Reaching up to 2 feet, it lifts off the seabed and dances through the current, its deep crimson body undulating like a flamenco performer. But behind that beauty lies a vital ecological role. Nudibranchs serve as reef health indicators. Where they flourish, the coral thrives. The lesson of the nudibranch is plain. No need to forge weapons. Simply steal them from others and flaunt them loudly enough that no one dares test the claim. The stonefish, Sinancea verrucosa, the most venomous fish on Earth according to Guinness World Records. Its camouflage is so flawless that it becomes indistinguishable from a moss-covered rock on the seabed. Measuring roughly 1 foot to 1.5 feet long, weighing up to 5.5 pounds. It lies motionless for hours, patience embodied, merging seamlessly into the coral rubble beneath it. "13 razor-sharp dorsal spines rise along its back, each fitted with a pair of venom glands loaded with verrucotoxin, a neurotoxic protein. Yet these are defensive weapons, a fact widely misunderstood. The stonefish does not use venom to hunt. It hunts with speed, a strike lasting just 15 thousandths of a second, generating a vacuum that sucks prey straight into its mouth. The prey never registers what has happened. The venom is reserved for anything foolish enough to step on it. And the pain stonefish venom delivers has been described as worse than childbirth. Ranging from the Red Sea to French Polynesia, from Australia through Southeast Asia to Japan, the stonefish inhabits nearly every shallow Indo-Pacific water. Its lifespan spans 5 to 10 years, a decade spent lurking on the seabed, still as stone, waiting. Patience, in every literal sense, is its primal instinct. Two schools of thought, two strategies, both effective for millions of years. But both of these strategies, display and concealment, pale before a tiny phantom lurking beneath the water's surface. What we are about to encounter doesn't just carry weapons, they are entities that shatter every conventional rule of biology. The box, jellyfish, cubozoa genus Charybdea, a creature with no brain, no bones, no blood, a living structure of near perfection, forged from nothing. If Chironex is a colossal monster, then Charybdea is an elite sniper, tiny, agile, and virtually undetectable. Their bodies are as transparent as crystal, shimmering under the sunlight. From the four corners of their box-shaped body, exactly 4 tentacles extend slender as silk threads, yet harboring terrifying power. Each tentacle can stretch up to 10 times the body's length when hunting, blanketed with thousands of stinging cells, microscopic venom capsules. Each stinging capsule is a biological micro-bullet. Upon contact with prey, they fire venom-tipped barbs with acceleration faster than an actual bullet. Charybdea's venom does not kill humans en masse within seconds like their giant relatives, but it inflicts excruciating agony that can trigger Irukandji-like syndrome, violent muscle spasms, vomiting, and an overwhelming sense of dread, as if the end of the world is closing in. What transforms this genus of jellyfish into a superior active predator lies in their visual system. They possess up to 24 eyes. This system is evenly divided into 4 clusters, positioned on all 4 sides of their body. More terrifyingly, each cluster contains 2 complex lens eyes, equipped with a fully developed cornea, crystalline lens, and retina, every bit as sophisticated as a human eye. A creature with no central brain, yet it perceives the world through 24 eyes. They do not merely see, they process images through a distributed network of nerve ganglia. And unlike most jellyfish that simply drift aimlessly, Charybdea are masterful swimmers. They propel themselves actively, weaving through mangrove roots and coral reefs at astonishing speed. They are drawn to light a peculiar behavior known as phototaxis. They surge toward light sources like transparent arrows, hunting small shrimp and juvenile fish with absolute precision. A living paradox of the ocean. Tiny, yet mighty. Simple, yet sophisticated. That is Charybdea, the phantom that commands the light. The ocean's most lethal venom resides in its simplest organism. No brain, no skeleton, no consciousness. Nature requires no complexity to engineer death. The next invader represents a far more insidious threat: systematic destruction from within. The lionfish Pterovolitans fans its ornate pectoral rays like underwater peacock plumes, crimson and white stripes alternating in the pattern of a marine zebra. Perhaps the most beautiful fish on the reef, but that beauty is a trap. "18 venomous spines, 13 along the dorsal ridge, 3 on the anal fin, 2 on the pelvics, transform every radiant fin into a biological weapon." The lionfish is venomous, not poisonous, a distinction that matters profoundly. Remove the spines, and the flesh is perfectly edible. Delicious, even. The lionfish's homeland is the Indo-Pacific, where it has coexisted in equilibrium with reef ecosystems for millions of years. But around 1985, everything changed. Lionfish appeared in the Western Atlantic, the Caribbean, and the Gulf of Mexico, an ecological invasion likely triggered by careless aquarium releases. In these new waters, the lionfish faces no natural predators, nothing hunts them, and they consume everything. The lionfish stomach expands to 30 times its resting volume. This insatiable voracity drives them to devour over 70 species of native fish and invertebrates. A single female releases roughly 2 million eggs per year, spawning ceaselessly across every season. Sexual maturity arrives in under 12 months. The result? A 79% decline in native juvenile fish within the first 5 weeks of colonizing new territory. Nearly an entire generation of juvenile fish erased in fewer than 6 weeks. The domino effect cascades. Lionfish eat the algae-grazing fish. Algae blooms unchecked. Algae smothers coral. Coral dies. The invader does not merely kill fish, it kills the reef itself. But in its Indo-Pacific homeland, the lionfish is not invincible. Something eats them there, swallows them whole, undeterred by 18 venomous spines. That predator will emerge later in this story. The invasion of the lionfish, the arms race on the coral reef, that seemed to have already escalated to its peak. But nature always holds one final trump card, one that wields neither venom nor silence. but pure kinetic force. The peacock mantis shrimp, scientifically known as Odontodactylus silurus. A warrior clad in the armor of an alien creature, wielding a weapon that defies every conventional law of physics. Spanning 2 to 7 inches in length, they wear a dazzling exoskeleton ablaze, with iridescent greens, oranges, and reds, like a peacock's tail, a magnificent beauty, concealing an authentic engine of destruction. Their hunting targets are not schools of soft-bodied fish, but the most heavily armored creatures on the seafloor: rock crabs, hermit crabs, and hard-shelled mollusks sealed tight within their fortified casings. Unlike predators that hunt with fangs and claws, the peacock mantis shrimp belongs to the smasher group, possessing a pair of specialized club-like raptorial appendages constructed from ultra-dense hydroxyapatite. When a rock crab unwittingly wanders into the strike zone, the biological safety latch is released, and the clubs swing forward with acceleration equivalent to a .22 caliber rifle bullet. The strike reaches 50 miles per hour even against the tremendous drag of water, tearing apart the molecular structure of the liquid to generate microscopic cavitation bubbles. The instant this vacuum bubble collapses, it unleashes a flash of light and temperatures soaring to nearly 8,500 degrees Fahrenheit, roughly the temperature of the sun's surface. This means the unfortunate prey endures a devastating double blow, a mechanical impact force of up to 350 pounds of force, followed by a shockwave explosion that shatters its protective armor to fragments. To prevent the weapon from being destroyed by the sheer intensity of its own strike, the molecular structure inside the club is arranged in a helicoidal spiral, a shock-absorbing design currently being studied by the military for next-generation ballistic armor. But this heavy-duty weapon only reaches its full potential thanks to the most complex visual system in the entire animal kingdom: 16 types of color photoreceptor cells, combined with independent trinocular depth perception in each eye. They can see ultraviolet light and even circularly polarized light, enabling the peacock mantis shrimp to effortlessly expose even the most perfectly camouflaged prey hidden among the coral reef. These eyes function as an integrated microprocessing camera system, automatically analyzing data on site and locking onto targets with zero latency before delivering the killing blow. This arms race seems incapable of further escalation. But the final two contestants prove otherwise, one through the ocean's most flawless individual deception, the other through an unprecedented cross-species alliance. If every predator on the reef relies on venom or muscle, the next creature has chosen an entirely different path to visual manipulation. The cuttlefish family Cepiidae, living optical computers that patrol the intricate reefs of the Indo-Pacific. At a glance, the eye registers only a chunk of coral rubble, a clump of drifting seaweed, or simply harmless emptiness against the sand. Because the camouflage of this cephalopod represents the pinnacle of biological disguise. Millions of chromatophore and iridophore cells carpet the skin, shifting color at pixel-level resolution in 1/10 of a second. It mimics not merely color, but manipulates tiny muscle bundles beneath the skin to replicate the precise three-dimensional texture of jagged coral branches. But the most formidable weapon of deception is not deployed for hiding. It activates the moment prey enters the range of those distinctive W-shaped pupils. The soft mantle erupts in pulsing bands of black and white that ripple continuously like electric waves, an irresistible visual hypnosis. Crabs and small fish, caught in this strobing illusion, find their nervous systems overwhelmed, every survival instinct stripped away. In that frozen instant of sensory overload, the invisible assassin strikes with devastating precision. Two specialized hunting tentacles fire from concealed sheaths beneath the eyes, piercing the water in 30 milliseconds. The strike carries immense kinetic force, micro-hooked suckers locking onto the prey before any reflex can trigger. The victim is wrenched backward into a cage of 8 muscular arms, brought face to face with a sharp, parrot-like beak at the center. That beak crushes the hardest crustacean armor with ease, while simultaneously injecting cephalotoxin, a neurotoxin that extinguishes all resistance. Evolution has armed them with unmatched intelligence, the largest brain-to-body ratio of any invertebrate on Earth. They calculate light angles, memorize reef topography, and optimize each deception scenario with the precision of seasoned strategists. One half of the body camouflages against predators, while the other half simultaneously strobes to mesmerize prey, 2 tactical programs running on a single skin. Through optical illusion, and cold intelligence, the cuttlefish ascends to the apex of solitary killing, a lethal mirage that needs no allies. But on the Indo-Pacific reef, one species has chosen the opposite path entirely, not solitude, but alliance. Not individual traps, but collective tactics that cross the boundaries of species. The banded sea crate, Laticauda colubrina. A sea snake whose venom strikes 10 times more potent than a rattlesnake's LD, 50 below 0.05 mils, kg, of body weight. Among the most powerful neurotoxins on the planet. But here lies the most astonishing paradox. It is docile, extraordinarily docile. Divers glide alongside the banded sea crate without provoking a single strike. Many defensive bites are dry, delivering no venom at all. The most lethal creature, yet the safest to approach. Venom sufficient to kill dozens of humans, yet almost never deployed against them. Nature engineered a nuclear weapon, then entrusted it to the most patient bearer. Females stretch to 5 feet, weighing roughly 4 pounds. Males run noticeably smaller, under 3 feet, just over 1 pound. Alternating black and white bands aposematic coloring broadcast a warning signal identical to the nudibranchs. And just as the nudibranch is mimicked by juvenile frogfish, the banded sea crate finds imitators, 2 harmless sea snakes, donning similar stripes to borrow its lethal reputation. Batesian mimicry, once again. A slender, laterally compressed body allows the crate to penetrate the tightest coral crevices where moray eels and small fish take refuge. It specializes in hunting moray eels, a quarry few predators dare confront inside their own dens. The banded sea crate hunts by daylight, and it does not hunt alone. This is among the most remarkable spectacles marine biology has documented. Banded sea crates, coordinating hunts alongside giant trevallies and goatfish. The tactic unfolds. Simply trevallies and goatfish drive schools of small fish into coral crevices. The kraits slip inside, sweeping every crevice with their compressed bodies, flushing prey back into the open. Prey fleeing the crevices meets the waiting jaws of trevallies and goatfish. Both parties profit. Cross-species cooperative hunting between reptiles and bony fish. The sea krait hunts with entirely different species, a degree of collaboration few would have predicted. But the banded sea krait does not live exclusively underwater. It is amphibious, spending roughly half its life on land. After each hunt, it swims ashore to digest, shed its skin, and rest. And most critically, it lays its eggs on land. The banded sea krait is the only sea snake on Earth that lays eggs ashore, oviparous, while every other sea snake gives live birth in the water. A creature suspended between two worlds. Hunting beneath the waves, resting on solid ground, armed with venom potent enough to kill, yet almost never wielding it. Forging alliances with other species to hunt, laying eggs on dry land despite being a sea snake. Equipped with specialized nasal valves that seal automatically under water pressure, this hunter sustains each deep dive for 15 to 30 minutes before it must surface to replenish its oxygen. Amid the vast ocean, the banded sea krait remains tethered to the air, its bond with the terrestrial world never severed. Across the reef, from solitary traps to hunting alliances, one truth emerges: size does not determine survival. This fierce arms race compels the smallest creatures to forge the most singular tactics and weapons. Eight creatures wield 8 distinct, lethal solutions, yet all depend upon the reef's integrity. Yet this 400 million year evolutionary laboratory is collapsing under climate change, pollution, and greed. When the reef vanishes, thousands of species and the grand evolutionary legacies they carry will be buried forever. Unlike the clamor of the savannah, the battle for survival on the seafloor unfolds in a silence that chills the blood. Weapons concealed in venom and camouflage create a battlefield where the defeated never know they have been targeted. The ocean's most dangerous weapon is not brute force but invisibility, claiming lives in the span of a heartbeat. Right now, a creature smaller than a fingernail carries venom lethal enough to kill in perfect silence, entirely unnoticed. Thank you for joining us on WildVerse. Subscribe now to continue exploring the untold stories of survival. The vulnerable flee in haste, desperate to preserve their fleeting breath. The formidable, however, choose silence, slipping unseen into the darkened mire. For that is how true terror is masterfully sown. A herd of impala graze with heads lowered. Their ears swivel ceaselessly, scanning every direction, yet their eyes see nothing but grass. A few paces away, a giraffe stands motionless. Its head rises above the treetops, its gaze sweeping nearly 1.25 miles of open ground, a living watchtower on the savannah. A 1,000 feet to the east, a shape lies flattened in the grass. Its body presses against the earth, eyes locked on the impala herd. Pale gold fur, dappled with black spots, blends into the dry grass with near-perfect precision. Farther still, concealed in thick scrub, a male lion lies frozen. His dark mane dissolves into shadow, his amber eyes half closed against the rising heat. He arrived before dawn, not a single muscle twitching since the deliberate stillness of the dominant, every breath shallow, every heartbeat measured, the patience of an apex predator distilled into perfect inaction. Four species, one savanna. Before the sun reaches its peak, at least one of them will pay the price of sharing this unforgiving ground. The impala feed close beside the giraffe, and this is no coincidence. Standing 16 to 20 feet tall, the giraffe's eyes detect what the low-slung impala cannot. This is a cross-species survival pact, refined across millennia of coexistence. The impala borrow the eyes of the gentle giant to compensate for their own modest height, trading proximity for protection. And those very eyes now detect what the entire impala herd has missed, a low shape pressed against the golden grass, edging closer with each passing second. The giraffe spots the cheetah in the grass. It stands rigid, head aimed directly at the stalker, gaze fixed and unblinking. The impala read the signal. Heads snap upward in unison, ears erect. every muscle drawn taut as a bowstring. The cheetah's body is a masterpiece, that 40 million years of evolution sculpted for a single purpose: speed. Every sinew, every bone, every hollow chamber of its oversized lungs exists to serve velocity. "70 miles per hour. From standstill to 100 kilometers in 3 seconds flat. Faster than any supercar ever built. A biological engine without equal." But that speed lasts no more than 20 seconds. After that, the cheetah's body overheats to its physiological limit, core temperature spiking past 40 degrees. Stop or die. The cheetah's success rate hovers between 40 and 50%, the highest among the great cats. But catching prey is one matter. Keeping it is another entirely. The cheetah knows it has been exposed. The element of surprise, its most critical weapon, is gone. Across the open grassland, no option remains but to strike immediately or abandon the hunt entirely. Its eyes lock onto a young impala that has drifted from the herd, isolated, hesitant, still learning the rhythms of danger. A fatal mistake. From 0 to maximum velocity in 3 seconds. Dust and grass erupt beneath the cheetah's paws as its body becomes a blur of gold. Its running line cuts a flawless straight path. The young impala zigzags in desperation, the only tactic against raw speed, because the cheetah's spine-flexing stride changes direction far less nimbly than its agile quarry. 12 seconds. Specialized claws, semi-retractable, functioning like the spikes on a sprinter's shoe, grip the earth and strike the prey down with surgical precision. The hunt is over. The cheetah begins to feed in frantic haste, breath still ragged, body trembling with exhaustion. But it is not the only one hungry this morning. The lionesses rise from the underbrush. Hundreds of pounds of muscle converge, their lithe, fluid forms crowned by battle-scarred faces. They have rested motionless all morning, not from indolence, but because steadfast patience remains the greatest weapon of the savannah's elite hunters. Each lioness weighs between 150 and 250 pounds combined. They constitute Africa's supreme apex predator. No creature dares challenge a hunting pride directly. Yet today, they ignore the cheetahs and impala herds. The pride's gaze locks onto a substantially more formidable quarry. A giraffe stretches downward to browse upon a low acacia. Neck lowered, forelegs splayed, it assumes a highly vulnerable posture. The pride advances, 164 feet, 98 feet, 49 feet. Each footfall lands in absolute silence. They fan out and charge. Yet, the giraffe holds its ground. It pivots with startling agility for a creature thrice the height of its assailants. A hind leg strikes with an estimated 2,000 pounds of force. Enough to shatter bone, enough to kill. The blow connects with the lead lioness's shoulder. The great cat falters, staggering backward 2 paces. The giraffe stands resolute, confronting them. 4 pillar-like legs planted firmly, head held high, entirely devoid of panic. It towers above the felines and possesses full awareness of this advantage. The pride retreats, not in defeat, but because the potential cost is simply too steep. A crippled limb renders a huntress useless, transforming her into a liability. An inability to hunt guarantees starvation. Collective might is not universally sufficient. Across these plains, survival favors those who judiciously choose their battles. Nearby, a cheetah finishes its meal, resting beneath an acacia canopy as temporary peace falls. The impala herd resumes, grazing 1 lost, 39 remain. The giraffe ambles away, its elevated vantage revealing everything: the satiated predator, the ravenous pride, and the oblivious prey grazing as though nothing had occurred. Retreating to the shadows, the lionesses lie in wait for another fleeting opportunity. Patience. Eternal patience. These formidable females govern the African savannah through unyielding collective strength and absolute fortitude. But across the Atlantic, in the sprawling swamplands of South America, a different great cat has evolved along an entirely separate path. It needs no pride, as the lion does, no speed, as the cheetah requires. It possesses something no other cat on earth can claim: the most powerful bite force in the feline family. A single bite clean through a caiman's skull. The jaguar, South America's apex cat, built for the swamp and answerable to nothing. Welcome to wild Brazil, a land where the untamed still shapes every river, every forest, every shadow. The 5th largest nation on Earth, 8.5 million square kilometers stretching from equatorial rainforest down to tropical savanna, from flooded marshland across to white desert. More than 125,000 animal species call this land home. 50,000 plant species anchor its soils. 15 to 20% of the planet's entire biodiversity contained within a single country. Each year, scientists identify approximately 700 new species within Brazil's borders. The natural world here continues writing pages that humanity has yet to read. 65% of Brazil's territory remains cloaked in native vegetation, 5 towering biomes spread across the continent, each a separate world governed by its own climate, ecology, and set of rules. Pantanal, Amazon, Mata Atlantica, Cerrado, Caatinga, and thousands of kilometers of Atlantic coastline, each name a doorway into a different realm. 150,000 square kilometers of flooded wetland, spanning 3 nations, Brazil, Bolivia, Paraguay, the largest tropical wetland system on Earth. 80% of the surface sinks beneath water during the wet season. Solid ground vanishes, yielding to a half-submerged realm where the boundary between river and land dissolves entirely. Unlike most major rivers in South America, the Paraguay River, the lifeblood of the Pantanal, remains entirely unobstructed by any dam along its main channel. That free-flowing current is the reason the Pantanal still breathes an unbroken pulse of water that sustains millions of lives across the floodplain. But more than 40 hydroelectric dams are being planned along its tributaries, and every single dam poses a direct, measurable threat to the wetland's delicate seasonal pulse. And across that boundless marshland, a solitary ruler presides in the shadows between water and earth. The jaguar requires nothing more than darkness and patience. The third largest cat in the world after the tiger and the lion, weighing between 90 and 120 pounds. A compact, muscular frame coiled beneath golden fur marked with black rosettes. A male jaguar can measure just over 6 feet in length, with a 28-inch tail, yet its build is engineered for tangled jungle and swampland rather than open plains. The jaguar's bite force reaches 1,500 psi, the strongest of any cat on Earth relative to body size. Bone, shell, and skull yield alike beneath those jaws. The jaguar deploys that jaw power to pierce through armor. Its bite can puncture a turtle's shell. It can crush a caiman's skull. No other great cat on the planet hunts this way. Jaguar density in the Pantanal reaches 6 to 12 individuals per 100 square kilometers, the highest concentration anywhere in the world. At the Tayama Ecological Station, GPS telemetry has recorded peak densities of 12.4 individuals, a figure that every other habitat on Earth can only envy. The Pantanal jaguar's technique for hunting caiman is globally unique. They hunt in daylight during the hottest hours, when caiman bask on the banks, sluggish and exposed. The jaguar approaches from behind in absolute silence. Not a leaf snaps, not a ripple stirs. The marshland holds its breath. Then it lunges with a precise bite through the caiman's skull behind the eyes, behind the ears where the bone is thinnest and the path to the brain is shortest. The success rate runs at roughly 5%, 1 kill in every 20 attempts, 19 failures for every triumph. Patience, once again, is the absolute prerequisite. 5% sounds low, but when each successful hunt ends with a meal weighing dozens of pounds, a single kill sustains the jaguar for days. Even so, with a ratio of 2,000 caiman for every 1 jaguar in the Pantanal, the odds are stacked generously in the predator's favor. Opportunity never runs dry. At times, the jaguar probes the bankside vegetation with its forepaw feeling for hidden caiman beneath the cover, a technique that no other predator on Earth employs. The jaguar's menu encompasses more than 85 species, from caiman to capybara, turtles to deer, snakes to fish, the most versatile hunter among the great cats. But the jaguar is not the only creature searching for a meal in the Pantanal. Other eyes watch, other appetites stir beneath the waterline. The capybara, the largest rodent on the planet, stands roughly 4 feet in length, weighs between 35 and 66 pounds, and lives in herds of 20 or more. They graze along the water's edge in tight clusters, ears permanently raised, nostrils twitching without pause. A capybara's life is measured not in years, but in seconds of vigilance. During the dry season, as water levels drop, capybara herds can swell to over 100 individuals, clustering around the last remaining pools, a feast laid out for every predator. At the first unfamiliar sound, capybara emit a sharp alarm call, a distinctive bark that carries across the wetland. The entire herd plunges into the water. But this is a mistake. That instinct compels them to repeat a fatal loop encoded deep in their survival programming. Because beneath the surface lies the caiman's domain. The Yacaré caiman, waiting just below the still waterline, only its eyes and nostrils breaking the surface. A reptilian patience older than any mammal on these banks. The capybara finds itself trapped between two predators. Jaguar on the bank, caiman in the water. Fleeing one means running directly into the jaws of the other. This is the pantanal's food web, where every prey animal simultaneously serves as bait for another, and every step in the wrong direction could be the last. "650 bird species paint the pantanal sky into a living canvas. Jabiru storks with wingspans approaching 10 feet, scarlet macaws ablaze in the canopy, kingfishers diving like sapphire arrows. The pantanal is not ruled by any single predator. It is ruled by the web itself, a mesh of hunger and fear so tightly woven that pulling one thread unravels them all. Each species functions as both regulator and regulated predator and prey woven into the same thread. A fragile network that has operated with precision across millions of years. But this sanctuary is wounded. Beneath its shimmering surface, scars run deep, and the damage grows with each passing season. In 2020, extreme drought triggered wildfires that consumed 30 to 39% of the entire Pantanal, nearly 4 million hectares reduced to ash. In 2024, another 2,600,000 hectares burned, the second catastrophic blaze in 4 years, devastating the Pantanal at a staggering scale. Nearly every fire originated from human activity, deliberate agricultural burns that escaped control and devoured the marshland's fragile vegetation, reducing centuries of growth to smoldering ruin. Yet research revealed something striking. After the 2020 catastrophe, resident jaguars held their territories and refused to flee. 1 year later, jaguar density had increased. Individuals from surrounding regions migrated inward, transforming the Pantanal into a climate refuge. The patient do not run, they wait, and the Pantanal recovers slowly, stubbornly, as it has done for millennia before. The jaguar's patience was forged in the Pantanal's shallows. But 3,000 kilometers north, patience takes a very different form, coiled beneath the surface. waiting to crush. The Amazon. 5 million square kilometers of tropical rainforest. Legal Amazon accounts for 60% of the entire basin. 390 billion trees, blanketing an area the size of Western Europe. That figure defies comprehension. Counting one tree per second, day and night without pause, would take more than 12,000 years to finish longer than all of recorded human civilization. The Amazon River discharges 209,000 cubic meters of water per second into the Atlantic, more than the next 7 largest rivers combined. 20% of all fresh water flowing into the world's oceans originates from this single river, a hydrological force unmatched anywhere on the planet. A freshwater current so enormous that it pushes the Atlantic salt water back hundreds of kilometers from the coast, staining the ocean brown with sediment. Beneath the canopy, the richest ecosystem on the planet operates by its own laws. More than 430 reptile species, 1,300 bird species, over 430 mammal species. "1,000 amphibian species, more than on any other continent. Each species a thread in a web so intricate that science has yet to unravel it fully. And the tally climbs each year, as scientists have yet to explore every remote corner of forest where no human footprint has ever fallen and no machete has cleared a path. In 2025, scientists described a stunning turquoise poison dart frog in the Jurua River basin and a miniature vivid orange toad in the Serra do Quiriri. The Amazon never stops revealing what it has kept hidden for millennia. And in the murky, sediment-laden waters of the Amazon basin, an invisible predator waits. The green anaconda, a consummate ambush specialist, nearly vanishing into the reddish-brown waters of flooded forest rivers. Its mottled olive-green scales mirror the murky current with uncanny precision. Most adults measure 10 to 16 feet in length. Rare, large individuals may reach 20 to 23 feet, though accounts of 26-foot specimens remain largely anecdotal. The anaconda can hold its breath for close to an hour underwater, not 10 minutes, as many mistakenly assume. Its physiology is built for sustained aquatic ambush beyond ordinary reptilian limits. Scientists have documented individuals remaining submerged for up to 50 minutes while consuming prey. The true physiological limit of these serpents exceeds anything previously imagined. And here, science has overturned a myth that persisted for centuries. The anaconda does not kill its prey through suffocation. It kills by circulatory arrest. When an anaconda constricts, the pressure reaches 300 psi, strong enough to collapse major blood vessels. Blood ceases to circulate. The brain and heart are severed from oxygen. The prey loses consciousness in seconds, not minutes. Death arrives far more swiftly and more mercifully than anyone once believed, a clinical efficiency refined over millions of years. The anaconda hunts the same categories of prey as the jaguar, capybara, caiman, deer, but in an entirely different arena. The water is its ambush chamber. If the jaguar is the king of the riverbank, the anaconda is the uncontested sovereign of the current. Two rulers, two overlapping kingdoms, sharing territory yet rarely coming into direct conflict. Above the waterline, 4 tiers of Amazon canopy create a world wholly apart where sunlight must battle through layer upon layer of foliage to reach the forest floor. 90% of the light is blocked before it reaches the lowest level. The world below exists in near perpetual darkness, heavy with moisture and the scent of decay. But high above, where the canopy meets the equatorial sun, life erupts in brilliant profusion. And within that elevated realm, one creature has pushed the strategy of concealment to its absolute extreme. The sloth, the slowest moving mammal on the planet. Average speed, 6.5 feet per minute. For comparison, a garden snail moves faster. But slowness is not a weakness. Slowness is a weapon. Predators detect prey through movement. No movement, no detection. A principle that is simple, yet devastatingly effective. The sloth has built its entire survival strategy on this single truth. The same concealment principle the jaguar employs when ambushing prey, yet the sloth applies it for the precisely opposite purpose, to survive rather than to kill. Green algae growing across its fur creates a seamless camouflage amid the canopy. Viewed from below, the sloth appears as nothing more than a motionless clump of moss. More than 70 species of moths and insects live symbiotically in its coat, a miniature ecosystem traveling on the back of the planet's slowest creature. An exceptionally low metabolic rate allows the sloth to subsist on a quantity of food that would starve any other mammal. Evolution does not favor the strongest or the fastest. It favors the most adapted. The Amazon harbors 10% of all bird species on Earth, 1,300 species, from the blazing scarlet macaw to the toucan with its 8-inch bill. The harpy eagle, armed with talons 5 inches long, rivaling those of a grizzly bear, perches motionless in the upper canopy for hours on end, patiently awaiting a sloth or monkey to reveal itself. It can detect prey from over 650 feet away and carry quarry weighing half its own body weight through the treetops, the most silent hunter of the high canopy. If Brazil's remarkable biodiversity captivates you, share your thoughts in the comments below. Every voice helps carry these stories further. Yet this expansive forest now approaches a threshold that science calls the tipping point, a line beyond which recovery may become impossible. (17 to 18% of the Amazon has already been cleared. The tipping threshold sits at 22 to 28%, according to research published in Nature in 2026. The gap between the present and the point of no return stands at just 4 to 10%, a margin so thin it could vanish within a few decades, perhaps fewer. Beyond that threshold, the rainforest begins an irreversible transformation into degraded savanna-like ecosystems. The earliest projections place this collapse in the 2040s. The southeastern Amazon has already become a net carbon emitter, releasing more than it absorbs. A paradox this forest has never faced in millions of years of existence. Yet amid the data, a signal of hope emerges. For 3 consecutive years, Amazon deforestation rates have declined, a fragile but unmistakable shift. Between 2024 and 2025, only 5,796 square kilometers were lost, the lowest figure in 11 years. An 11% reduction from the previous monitoring cycle. The trajectory bends in the right direction, but the race against time remains far from won. The Amazon, however, is not the only biome fighting for survival. To the southeast, another forest, older, smaller, and far more ravaged, holds on by a thread. Along the southeastern coast of Brazil, where mountains meet the sea, and year-round mist cloaks the steep slopes, an ancient forest once stretched like a green ocean, now only fragments remain. Mata Atlantica. Originally, this forest spanned 1,300,000 square kilometers, a colossal green ribbon running the entire length of Brazil's coastline from north to south. Today, roughly 24% still stands a fraction of its former grandeur. Most of it is secondary or regenerating forest, and undisturbed primary growth accounts for just 7 to 12%. What survives, however, defies comprehension. Within these scattered remnants lies a concentration of life so dense it rivals anything the tropics can offer. In southern Bahia, scientists have counted up to 450 tree species in a single hectare, a world record for woody plant density. One hectare of Mata Atlantica forest holds more diversity than the entire woodland area of many European nations. That biological wealth compressed into an almost inconceivably small space. "20,000 plant species, 2,000 vertebrate species, 854 endemic amphibians, 71% found exclusively in Brazil and nowhere else on the face of the earth." The water supply for over 70% of Brazil's population, approximately 145 million people, depends on this besieged forest. In the heart of Rio de Janeiro, the Tijuca forest, 4,000 hectares, replanted from 1861 by order of Emperor Pedro II, stands as living proof that Mata Atlantica can regenerate when given the chance. Beneath the damp canopy of Mata Atlantica, a massive creature moves in near total silence, its bulk belied by the gentleness of its tread. The tapir, up to 6.5 feet long, weighing 150 to 300 pounds. The largest land mammal in South America, its short, flexible trunk sweeping through the undergrowth. The tapir walks soundlessly beneath the canopy, feeding on fallen fruit, young leaves, and seeds. That quiet passage transforms it into the forest's unwitting gardener. The tapir swallows seeds in one location and deposits them kilometers away, dispersing new growth across sweeping distances. It plants forest for its own predator without ever knowing. That predator, the jaguar in Mata Atlantica, now teeters on the edge of extinction, its numbers dwindling with every hectare of forest lost. Only a few dozen individuals survive in small, fragmented forest patches, genetically isolated and severed from one another by sprawling cities, highways, and industrial agriculture. The tapir plants forest. The jaguar needs forest to survive, but the forest vanishes faster than the tapir can scatter its seeds, an ecological equation tilting toward collapse. Yet amid the destruction, one story has astonished the world, a tale of near-total collapse reversed by sheer human determination. The golden lion tamarin, a diminutive primate, cloaked in fur the color of flame, weighing less than a single pound. In the 1970s, the wild population collapsed to roughly 200 individuals, a genetic bottleneck so narrow that extinction appeared to be merely a matter of time. Humans intervened. Captive breeding programs combined with vegetation, bridges, forest corridors, stitching isolated fragments back together pulled this species from the brink. Today, the golden lion tamarin population has climbed to several thousand. Every member of the group shares in rearing the young, the father, notably carries the infants more than the mother does. Twins are common, and the entire troop divides the responsibility of care, a cooperative social model that larger, supposedly more intelligent primates might well envy. Where Mata Atlantica's canopy ends, a different kind of wild begins. One that hides its greatest secrets, not above, but below the surface. Impenetrable forest yields to sweeping grassland, dotted with gnarled, twisted trees whose thick bark has evolved to withstand fire and drought. Cerrado, a name that few outside Brazil have heard, yet one that shelters a staggering share of the planet's living wealth. "2 million square kilometers, 22% of Brazil's territory. From above, it resembles the golden sweep of the African savanna. Beneath the surface, however, everything inverts. Two-thirds of the Cerrado's plant biomass lies underground, a far-reaching root network, plunging many feet deep, forming an upside-down forest invisible to the naked eye. If the Amazon is the forest that can be seen from space, the Cerrado is the forest that hides beneath the surface. Most of its life waits below the soil, poised to erupt with the rains. The most biodiverse savanna on the planet. 5% of all species worldwide. 30% of Brazil's total biodiversity contained within an ecosystem most of the world cannot even name. And through the Cerrado each night, a strange creature patrols its territory with long, deliberate strides through the silver-lit grass. The maned wolf, South America's largest canid, resembles a fox mounted on stilts. Those abnormally long legs lift its gaze above the tall grass, scanning for prey and for danger. Each night, the maned wolf covers 20 kilometers, alone and silent. No pack, no allies, only darkness and a pair of acutely tuned ears. The maned wolf is the sole member of the genus Crocodiles, sharing no close kinship with any wolf or fox, a solitary evolutionary branch adrift in the grasslands. The strangest trait of the maned wolf, though, is neither its stature nor its solitude. 50% of its diet is fruit lobera, the so-called wolf apple, the most omnivorous canid on Earth. The bond between the maned wolf and the lobera plant is a seamless mutualism. The wolf eats the fruit and disperses the seeds across the Cerrado floor. The fruit may shield the wolf from a devastating giant kidney parasite, a predator that cultivates its own medicine, a pharmacist of the grasslands. Under Cerrado moonlight, the pampas deer, standing 4 feet tall, weighing 20 to 40 pounds, moves in a state of perpetual vigilance, ears rotating like twin radar dishes. Speed is their sole defense against jaguar and maned wolf. Each step is a survival calculation. Stand still too long and die. Bolt too early and squander precious energy. Pampas deer numbers have dropped sharply as native grasslands give way to soybean fields and cattle ranches. These animals require open ground to run, and that ground is shrinking with every planting season. The Cerrado, however, faces devastation faster than any other biome in Brazil. Its grasslands are being consumed at a pace that outstrips even the Amazon's losses. .9% of its native vegetation has been converted. Agricultural expansion has surged 533% since 1985. A legal loophole deepens the crisis. Brazil's forest code permits private landowners to clear up to 80% of native vegetation on their property, a provision that has accelerated the Cerrado's decline. In the Amazon, that figure is only 20%. One nation, two vastly different standards of environmental protection, and the Cerrado bears the heaviest cost. In 2024, the Cerrado accounted for 52.5% of ALL native vegetation loss across Brazil, more than the Amazon itself. Beyond the Cerrado's grasslands, rainfall dwindles to almost nothing, and the landscape bleaches to bone white under a relentless sun. Caatinga. The name itself speaks of a landscape unlike any other, a place where survival is not guaranteed, but earned. (844,000 square kilometers, 10% of Brazil's territory. The only biome on the planet that exists exclusively within Brazilian borders. Caatinga in the Tupi-Guarani language means white forest, because in the dry season, plants shed every leaf and the trunks turn ghostly pale, conjuring an eerie landscape in broad daylight. "900 vertebrate species have adapted to these harsh, semi-arid conditions where daytime temperatures can exceed 40 degrees Celsius and rain falls for only a few months each year. Life here is not granted by the landscape. It is wrested drop by drop from the dust, earned through adaptation. Yet one species among them nearly vanished altogether. Lear's macaw, a magnificent blue macaw, utterly dependent on the licuri palm nut for survival. Its plumage shimmers like cobalt under the Caatinga sun. In the 1980s, only about 60 individuals remained worldwide. 60. The entire species stood at the threshold of oblivion. "40 years later, in 2025, the population has surpassed 2,500 individuals, a resurrection that conservation science rarely achieves. Conservation succeeded through a deceptively simple formula, compensating local farmers for crop damage and planting additional licuri palms across the arid landscape of the region. A new threat, however, now looms. Large-scale wind farms are proliferating across Caatinga, claiming land and creating collision risks for those rare blue wings. From the white desert of Caatinga, the final passage leads to the coast where the continent meets the Atlantic Ocean and a new chapter of biodiversity begins. "7,400 kilometers of coastline. From northern mangrove forests to white sand beaches in the south, Brazil's marine ecosystems rival the richness found on land. Beneath the surface, sharks, hammerhead, tiger, bull shark patrol like silent phantoms, apex predators of the open ocean, holding the entire marine food web in equilibrium. Where sharks disappear, coral reef ecosystems collapse in their wake, a cascading chain of ecological failure that scientists term trophic cascade, unraveling decades of balance in months. And each year, from the frigid waters near Antarctica, enormous visitors arrive, crossing half the globe on a journey that has endured for millennia. The humpback whale, 14 to 18 meters long, weighing 40 tons, migrates 8,000 kilometers from feeding grounds near Antarctica to breed in Brazil's warm coastal waters. 8,000 kilometers, the distance from Lisbon to Tokyo, and the humpback swims that passage every year, there and back again, guided by magnetic fields and ancestral memory. Pectoral fins stretching up to 16 feet, the longest of any whale species, trace graceful arcs through crystalline water. Each winter, Brazil's coastline becomes a nursery for these giants, where mothers guide newborn calves through warm, shallow waters before together turning south once more. From the wetlands of Pantanal to the Amazon rainforest, from besieged Mata Atlantica to the inverted Cerrado, from the white desert of Caatinga to the deep blue Atlantic, each biome is a chapter in the story of life. All of them now confront the same adversary, a force that respects no border and spares no habitat. 2024 was the hottest year in recorded history since measurements began in 1850. Global mean temperatures rose 1.29 degrees Celsius above the 20th century average and 1.46 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial baselines, numbers that translate into drought, wildfire, and extinction. Southeastern Amazon has turned from carbon sink into carbon source. Pantanal burns. Cerrado is carved apart for soybean and cattle. Caatinga faces creeping desertification. Mata Atlantica fractures into ever smaller shards. Every predator encountered across this land — jaguar, green anaconda, maned wolf, shark — faces a common enemy that cannot be ambushed, cannot be outrun, and cannot be outlasted. Habitat loss. Yet Brazil also stands as proof that human hands can mend what they have broken, that destruction is not always the final chapter. Lear's macaw, from 60 individuals to more than 2,500. A species that stared into oblivion and returned, one fledgling at a time. The golden lion tamarin. From 200 to several thousand, every infant born carries upon its shoulders 40 years of human effort. The Yacaré caiman, from the edge of extinction to 10 million individuals after the poaching ban of 1992. Evidence that the natural world stands ready to forgive if humanity agrees to stop. The Jaguar Corridor Initiative, a transnational rewilding effort spanning Brazil, Argentina, Bolivia, and Paraguay, is stitching severed forest fragments back together, restoring ancient migration routes. AI-powered identification technology has catalogued more than 450 individual jaguars across multiple reserves, enabling researchers to monitor population health and protect each animal. No two jaguars wear the same coat. Each rosette pattern is singular, and AI can now identify every individual from a single camera trap photograph. For 3 consecutive years, Amazon deforestation has fallen. Indigenous communities, recognized as the most effective forest stewards on the planet, are reclaiming the right to protect their ancestral territories. The solutions are no secret. Halt illegal deforestation, restore degraded land, enforce existing protections, and above all, respect the territories of communities that have safeguarded these forests for thousands of years. The indigenous peoples of the Amazon, Cerrado, and Caatinga have demonstrated what modern science is only beginning to grasp. A forest is not merely trees, but a living network binding everything together. Wild Brazil serves as a reminder that nature is not an inexhaustible resource, but a living system that breathes, that responds, that remembers. From the African savanna to the marshes of Pantanal, from the Amazon rainforest to the desert of Caatinga, one law persists throughout every biome, every season. Life endures through equilibrium, a calibration refined across geological time. Break it, and the collapse is not slow. It is sudden, total, and it does not wait for permission. The lion knows when to retreat. The jaguar knows when to wait. The question remains whether humankind possesses the wisdom to learn the same lesson. Every living species carries within it an extraordinary story. Stories that nature spent millions of years writing, and that humanity can erase in a single generation. Thank you for joining us on WildVerse. The natural world still holds countless stories waiting to be told. If you haven't subscribed yet, now is the perfect time. We'll see you on the next journey.